All right. Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, and this is where I give commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. And before I get started, I want to send a special shout out, as promised, to WWE Empire channel for your subscription. Thank you so much for showing up, subscribing. It's well appreciated. And without further ado, for those of you who are new, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and you can be notified on all things from the show. And thank you for the subscriptions that you have given so far, and thank you for your views. They're awesome. So, let's get started. Last night was awesome. Just awesome. And I don't know if they're doing this to compete with AEW because of the fact that Adam Cole, Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk have gone. Legend has it that Kevin Owens, who was not present last Friday, is going there. And also the rumors of Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman going to AEW. So there's a lot of rumors and a lot of competition. We might be in for another one of those wars again. Hopefully no one goes out of business. But nonetheless, last night was great, and what made last night great was the ending, and that's what I'm here to talk about. The ending with Big E Langston, 2/3 of the New Day, now being WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So let me give my thoughts on that. First of all, I will say this. Last night was interesting. Can't wait to see Charlotte versus Alexa. Alexa reminds me of Jinx from Teen Titans. Childhood for some of our memories. And notice how I said Teen Titans, not Teen Titans Go. But either way, Alexa reminds me of Jinx. And of course, then we have Big E as the wild card. Now, let's take you back to the beginning. In the beginning, as the biblical history says, we had a segment between Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, with also Bobby Lashley and MVP, with a special appearance by Big E Langston, who's Money in the Bank contract winner. So things were very funny when Matt Riddle was like, "Please don't cash on Randy." Or someone made fun of that and made reference to Peter Griffin when he used to get bullied by a guy named Randy. We all remember that. Nerd, Randy! That was funny. But either way, Matt Riddle is just silly and funny sometimes. But that whole segment led to a match between Bobby Lashley versus Randy Orton at the end of the night. And I predicted, and sometimes I'm wrong, but I predicted that Randy Orton versus Bobby Lashley would end in a DQ, and it would set them up for Extreme Rules. But nonetheless, the match actually had a fair, not necessarily fair, but a complete conclusion. And it all started near the end of the match when Randy Orton went for his RKO, and then MVP made the save, and then MVP got the RKO, and Matt Riddle is laying on the floor. I gotta say this, I'm gonna say this real quick. Matt Riddle and Randy Orton, to me, would make a good Caucasian version of Friday. And of course, Matt Riddle has had a story with drugs, but sometimes he seems a little too happy, if you know what I mean. He's cool, but sometimes. But nonetheless, he does remind me of RVD, having a very laid-back personality and a very calm, or as the New Day would call it, positive power. But our power positivity. But either way, Matt Riddle is hilarious the way he laid on the floor next to MVP. But those few seconds cost Randy Orton, and Bobby Lashley would go for a spear. Second to SmackDown's champion Roman Reigns. 1, 2, 3, ding dong, in the words of Belly. And Bobby Lashley is still champion. But he continued the damage and slammed Randy Orton through a table, and for whatever reason, his knee kind of got hurt in that. I don't know how that happened, but his knee got hurt. Big E, who had made an appearance earlier, came down to the ramp and cashed in. We are all happy that Big E won the championship. And fun fact, he is he is the second out of the three members to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Kofi Kingston won it at WrestleMania 35 2 years ago, and Big E won it last night in Boston. So that's all well and cool. But I had a couple of thoughts that I wanted to express to you, and some of you will agree with this. Now, first off, we all know that 2/3 of the New Day are champion, which leads us with Xavier. Maybe had us wondering, could Xavier be champion someday? I made this comment, and a couple of people said that he was satisfied with where he was and celebrating his two New Day brethrens. Of course, he should get a chance. I really think he should get a championship push, Xavier. Who knows? He could make a get IC title or a good U.S. championship or a 24/7 champion. Who knows? So 2/3 of the New Day are champion. I think Xavier will get a great push. Speaking of push, it was very sad last year when the New Day had to disband and Kofi and Xavier were drafted to Raw while Big E Langston stayed on SmackDown. But that was a pretty good push to him, and I think Kofi Kingston's words were very prophetic when he said, "This is the universe talking to us." And this is a chance for him to get his singles push. And he got an amazing one. And it's safe to say that 2021 is the year of Big E Langston also. Remember, he was Intercontinental Champion earlier this year, and now he is WWE Champion. And of course, not to mention, he's a former NXT Champion. Let's not forget that. So, amazing push for Big E Langston, and it's well needed, and that opened a lot of doors. When one door closes, another one opens, and this has opened a lot of doors. It's well deserved. I'm very happy to see the New Day happy. The power of positivity worked. And what I respect most is his humility. He said that he's glad that it wasn't handed to him quickly, because a lot of times when things aren't handed to you quickly, you appreciate them more, and you appreciate the fact that it took something to get it. The harder you work for something, the more you appreciate it. A lot of times you take for granted what's handed to you. Sometimes, not all the time, but you know what I mean. But let's get down to my main point before I close. Now that Big E Langston is WWE World Heavyweight Champion, this means a couple of things. The first thing this means is that now Paul Heyman can't be startled by Big E Langston. The good news is he still has Kayla Braxton to startle him. I kind of like her. But either way, at least Paul still has Kayla to drive him crazy, and I enjoy watching Kayla do it. But the fact that Kayla and Big E won't drive him crazy is darn, but it's okay because Kayla can still do it, and I look forward to it. Also, this also raises one hope, a couple of hopes. The first thing I hope for in Big E's championship reign is, number one, that it gets a good reign. Now, Kofi Kingston had a good reign. I'll be honest, Kofi had a good run. Bianca started at WrestleMania and ended at SummerSlam in the squash of the century, or the squash of the decade, as I like to call it. Which brings me to hope number two. The first one is, I hope he gets a good reign, like Kofi did. He had a good run. He doesn't have to reign forever like Walter and Roman Reigns or Roman Reigns is doing. But it would be nice to have a good guy be champion for a long period of time. because it's always the bad guys reigning for so long. CM Punk reigned for a long time, and then he became heel for it. So that's when it became a little draining. But either way, I hope he gets a good run. That's number one. Number two, do not, I hope, I pray, I'm so serious. Y'all better not squash this man. I'm going to tell y'all right now. If y'all, I'm so serious. I'm serious. Y'all better not squash him. I mean, Bianca Belair was the squash of the decade or the century, but it was the squash of something. Big E Langston, y'all better do him right. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you now. I mean, y'all didn't let Nikki ASH have a good reign. That was over before it started. But y'all better let Big E get something. Kofi had a good run. He got squashed by Brock Lesnar on an episode of the season premiere of SmackDown in 2019. However, that one was kind of understandable because Brock Lesnar is just hard to beat. So, but you could have at least let Kofi get a little bit of competitive offense onto Brock, but that was a squash. But it was just something about Bianca's squash that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, including myself. I was excited to see Becky, as you've probably seen in my reaction, but then after thinking about it, that was a miscarriage of justice the way it went out. And I was hoping that they wouldn't turn Bianca heel, but they ended up turning Becky Lynch heel, and Becky showed her butt, in the words of Bianca, by having a fur coat in 80-degree weather. But either way, don't squash Biggie. That's my biggest concern. Do not treat him like you treated Bianca Belair. Otherwise, all of us here on the Danny Show and all of us subscribers are probably going to cuss WWE out. Not literally, but you know what I mean. But my well wishes to Big E Langston for being WWE World Heavyweight Champion. That push, that was sad. It's kind of like, you know how when you move to another state and you miss the old state you were in, but as you move to a new state, you start to see a lot of doors opening that you would not have had open if you had not left. This is the same scenario with Big E Langston. He left, he stayed on SmackDown, and the New Day members Xavier and Kofi went to Raw. It was sad, but that opened up a lot of better doors. And now they're back together on Monday Night Raw, so we all win. But that means Roman Reigns is no longer looking at Big E. Now he just has to watch out for the Demon Finn and Brock Lesnar. And hopefully we'll see Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley someday. But in the meantime, back to Big E, man. I really hope he has a good reign, and I hope they don't squash his reign like they did Bianca and Kofi, because that, I ain't gonna get into that. But either way, I just hope he has a good reign, and should he go out, let him go out respectfully and with dignity. You know what I mean? But either way, let's just focus on the power of positivity and being positive, and let's just hope Big E has a good run. Well wishes to him for stopping the Almighty, and let's see what's next. We're probably going to end up having a triple threat match at Extreme Rules between Big E, Randy Orton, and Bobby Lashley. Or we might have two powerhouses one-on-one. Now that's going to be good. Either way, it's going to be fun to see. That's all the time I have for you today. And I'll be back Friday with another review of SmackDown. But for now, have a good week. Peace out. And this is The Danny Show. Until next time. New Day Rocks.